Welcome everyone. Again, very happy to be with you all. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on the time zone you are. We are in week 3 and I'm so excited to be again here. I missed you all last week. I was busy with some personal stuff and travel. But yeah, I have seen the recording and I have seen a lot of learning has happened. So really great to see the progress we are making all together. So thanks everyone for being part of BESA program, Become a Solutions Architect. We are in week 3 and we are focusing on Agentic AI in this particular batch. This is batch number 9. I'll go into some more detail, which are rhetoric, but we have a lot of people joining us from the different time zones and different backgrounds. So better that I set a stage and bring everyone to the same platform that we are aware about what is actually happening. So this is batch number 9. I'll quickly introduce a few people and we'll quickly keep on moving forward so that we get the most out of the time we are spending together. Now, as an icebreaker question, I want to ask you about that. Who is your favorite character? Who is your favorite character in the terms of comics? So I'm a big fan of comics. I used to read a lot and I still don't mind reading it. So if you can indulge me into knowing about who is your favorite comic character. I've included few of the Indian comic characters also, which I have been part of and I've been growing reading them. So while you answer this, let me introduce who all volunteers are today with us. So obviously we have Prasad here. Hey Prasad. Prasad, this question would apply to you also. So think which character you are going to talk about when I ask you again. And then we have Kavya, then we have Anil with us, then we have Laura and Chef, and am I missing anyone? Yeah, Nisha. So Nisha is also there. So welcome everyone, and thanks for supporting us on weekend. And let's see that what we are getting in answer. Billu, Nagra, these are some Indian comic characters. Then I could read somewhere Iron Man, Phantom, Chacha Chaudhary. I can see a lot of Indian folks have joined. Not sure if some of you know about these. Captain Planet, again, that's one. Catwoman, okay, that's a good one too. So let me ask that, Prasad, who is your favorite comic character?
So as a growing up Indian kid, like it was always Shaktiman in terms of watching when I used to watch. And while reading, it was, I know everyone loves Chacha Chaudhary. Somehow I used to love Sabu more than Chacha Chaudhary.
Yeah, the bullying person. Yeah, I know that. If I remember correctly, he was depicted somebody who came from Jupiter planet, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good one. Kavya, how about you? What comic characters?
I would say Oswald. Do you know about Oswald? That was my favorite character in cartoons all the time.
Wow. Probably I'm too old at that time, so I haven't seen that. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I probably grew up watching Super Friends, which might predate some people in the audience, and I'd probably say it was Superman from Super Friends.
Makes sense. Makes sense. That's good. How about you, Laura?
I would have to say Spider-Man. So some of my cartoons go way back, at least.
Means if I remember correctly, like in Indian, there was a 5-minute of Spider-Man cartoon shown on every Sunday, just for 5 minutes, and people were like crazily waiting for that. So that was interesting. How about you, Anil? Maybe on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, I was on mute. So for me, Shaktiman was the one because we used to live in village. So we got like, have a TV and we used to go there and watch there. So that was the only options. Yeah,
that's true. That's interesting. How about you, Nisha?
For me, Spider-Man too.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So yeah, I'm reading comments, and then these bring some of the good memories. Pinky and Billu, an Indian character. Then Ali Rama is there. Then Pavitra Prabhakar. I haven't heard about it. Naruto is obviously very common. Black Panther, and then Rocket the dog. So yeah, really interesting one. I'll reveal mine also. I cannot like skip the question. I cannot dodge the bullet. So some of you have already mentioned about these characters, Super Commando Dhruv, and there is Phantom. So these are two which I used to read a lot. And then we have these comics were released monthly, so we were eagerly waiting when in the next month what is coming up. They were used to build a lot of excitement, and when these comes, that was so good to read about all these things. So thanks everyone, and let's now dive deep into the other settings. So I'll remove everyone from the stage, but they are supporting you in the chat, so please keep on asking questions so that we can answer as many questions as we can, and we'll try to give you the best return on the time you're investing. But to help you, you need to also help us. Please don't ask repetitive question. Please check if it has been already answered so that we are able to focus on the new questions which are coming up. For people who joined us new, let me do a quick recap. So we founded this program in 2022. We have few volunteers who are supporting us, and then list is growing. We focus on technical and behavioral track. These are the topics we have covered in the previous track, so I'll not go into detail of it. We will be broadcasting every Saturday, 21st February to 20th March for 6 weeks, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. GMT. And why I'm emphasizing time here, because the time zones are changing in some part of the world. I know about in US, there are time zone change happening. So we'll stick to GMT timing. I'm repeating again, we'll stick to GMT timing. So please calculate plus and minuses based on your time zone. We'll be always broadcasting on 3 p.m. GMT for this batch. And we'll also be going through hands-on workshops, and we have learning partner WizLab, and we have prize sponsor Cloud Career Journeys here. If you have questions, any confusions which you are not able to sort on your own, check Discord channel. A lot of things have been answered there. LinkedIn group is there, but that is for more for us to relay the communicates information to you. Email addresses is again for very rare scenarios, but the more primary channel for you all should be Discord. And we also send you pre and post session email, so look for that. Please whitelist BESA program email addresses in your email client so that emails end up into inbox, not into spam. And all the sessions are recorded, so you would be able to go to any of the session, and you should not be having any problem to repeat and rewatch any of these sessions, right? So we will talk about technical track for 60 minutes, behavioral track 30 minutes, and then hands-on track. We'll explore what is in hands-on, what is in behavioral in the coming section. But yeah, this is how the sessions are going to be scheduled and going to be running. So we are on week 3. We'll talk about designing with Strands Agent. We'll then talk about accelerating discovery and requirement gathering. We'll then talk about getting started with Strands Agent. So these are the things we will be discussing today. Yes, so exciting topic, exactly, Lakshmi Narayan. This is really exciting topic. A lot of people are looking for this information, so we thought it's a good topic to include. So yes, we'll talk about it, and we'll try to keep it at a level which is aligned to all people who are just very new and who are a little more deep into it. So please bear with us till we set the stage and bring everyone to the same platform. And in case you are very new to AI and ML, we already have covered these foundational topics into previous batches. So we recommend these two playlists in our YouTube channel. So please go ahead and check these two playlist channels so that you are aware about what are the prerequisites associated with that. All right. Now, there are weekly badges to claim. So we publish quiz with every week, and that quiz contains 15 questions. If you answer them correctly, you get a badge. These are the 6 badges for 6 weeks. And if you complete all 6 quizzes and claim all 6 badges, you would be able to get a attendance certificate from us like this, right? And emphasizing again that workshops and quizzes are 2 different things. Workshops are not evaluated at all. You do it or not do it, you complete it 10% or 5%. It is not linked to your badges. Badges are only linked to the quizzes you attempt. So 15 questions which you have to attempt, and then you would be able to go ahead and then get more details on that. I'm getting a question here, talk about Kiro and Anthropic. So that topic is coming up, and that's why I would suggest that check the agenda we have set up. That is very thoroughly thought agenda. We are trying to cover as much as we can, and we have Kiro session on as the last session for this particular batch. All right. So for this particular one, sorry, my typo here, it should be week 3, copy paste mistake. So we'll design with Strands Agent, that is 60 minutes. Then we'll talk about how to accelerate discovery and requirement gathering, that will be for 30 minutes. And then we'll talk about this Strands Agent workshop, that would be we will be exploring and explaining you about how these workshops are run into this. So if everyone is so far with me, give me a +1 and we will get started with the technical session. Please give me a +1 and we will keep moving forward. I can see 600 people live joining us. Thanks everyone. And a lot of us would be watching us later into YouTube. So feel free to ask questions even in YouTube comments or put in Discord. We would be trying to answer as much as we can. Thanks everyone who is supporting us. Let's continue moving forward. So we'll do a role play. Probably have seen how we do role play. So One of us becomes a solutions architect who is representing AWS as a technology partner or a technology company. Another one becomes a genuine customer who is looking for finding a solution for a business problem. So that's how we try to simulate how we SAs work in a day-to-day situation, how we talk to customer. That's where you would be able to see some soft skills into also play. Rather than boring with your PowerPoint, we'll start with a role play here. So this particular role play is about getting started with Strands Agent. You will find this may be little different. I will not be a completely ignorant customer. I would try to be a customer who is like having a little bit more knowledge and who is asking very specific question and even sharing his or her knowledge also. So I would be accompanying with Kavya. So Kavya is representing a solution architect today, and I would try to be a customer, but I'm a noisy customer, I would call it, like who is also trying to speak in between and then try to share his or her thoughts also. So probably you will enjoy the conversation we have. And feedback is important. So anything which you like, anything which we can improve, let us know. Any encouragement, anything which can be improved, anything which can be done better, let us know, and we'll try to have a better program for the coming batches. Hey Kavya, good to have you here. How are you doing?
Hey Ashish, I'm doing good. Yeah, good to have you be here. And little bit about myself. I know I have introduced myself, but I'm a solutions architect here at AWS, and I'm specializing in AI ML side of AWS right now. Really excited to have this conversation with you today, and let's make this interactive.
Yeah, so as I said, like I'm going to be a little sticky customer. So
Mhm.
I'm looking for like, hey, my production is down and I got an essay. Let me get her to solve all the problem I have in just 1 minute, right?
Yeah,
So that happens sometime, but yeah, I'll try to be a little polite. uh, Let me check some questions here. Somebody's saying audio is having issues. Somebody says no, audio is good. Hopefully everyone is having a better audio. Probably if somebody individually is having a problem, please go ahead and check some settings at your side. Okay, so I'll share, Kavya, what I know as a customer, and then
Mhm.
you correct me if I'm missing something. So obviously, we are deep into AI. We are looking to find solution for our business problem by using agentic AI or using generative AI and all. So what I understood, I'll replay my understanding to you and correct me if I'm wrong. So if I'm building and trying to run an agent, what an agent is, we already discussed. But if I'm trying to build an agent, what I would probably need an infrastructure, because this all are basically compute code. That code has to be executed somewhere, so I would be needing infrastructure, and that can be on-prem or it can be on cloud also. So it depends on what we are going to use on this case. So first thing we need for building any agent is infrastructure that could be on-prem and cloud. Once I have sorted this out, I would also be needing something called a foundational model, right? Because this is the brain who would direct agent to perform some task. Agent would leverage this brain, and agent would act as a hand and then perform the task we are looking for. And again, choices are there. We can use open source model or we can use customized model for your use case, depending on what problem you are trying to solve. So these are the two ingredients we need. What else I need on that? I would also be needing supporting services. I need to ensure I'm ensuring security for my data. I would need memory to store the conversations I'm having. I would need observability, whether I'm performing things properly or my optimum solution is working optimally or not. And I would also need some orchestration, so some common thing can be orchestrated on a day-to-day basis. So once I've sorted this foundational items, then I should be able to build an agent on top of it. So is this understanding correct, Kavya? This is how we should
Absolutely,
progress. Yeah,
absolutely.
right. Makes sense. And then to go ahead further on that I'm trying to build agent for my particular problem, but
Mhm.
I'm obviously running into some issues, and that's why I needed your expertise. I'll tell you what kind of challenges I'm facing. So obviously, when you go to a marketing event, everything feels that just you go in, open one console, and all your problem will be solved by an agent. But when you actually start building, there are some
Mhm.
challenges, right? It's so much changing that is a steep learning curve. I have to keep on learning new technologies, new framework, new SDK. So that's a challenge for me and my team. Also, there is a lot of orchestrations required. So we may be talking to n number of systems internally, externally to solve a business problem, and that is where we need a lot of integration to happen. And if we do that, problem is that we do not have visibility. Like it becomes a black box. I talk to my agent, ask something, and then that agent goes and gets that particular output. But what happens behind the scene, I have no clue on that. So it works most of the time, but when I'm trying to solve a problem or trying to identify an issue, it becomes a black box for me. So that is the visibility issues I have. As Rao, kindly slow down. Good feedback. I'll try to be a little slow. Thank you. And then challenges to build and maintain. As you know, that models are changing every day. New model comes up, new framework comes up, new version comes up. So I'm struggling a lot with all these common things. So hopefully you should be able to provide me some solution or at least some guidance so that I can move forward in this. Now, Kavya, have you seen any other problem which people face when they build agent apart from what I have listed here?
Yeah, these challenges are really valid. Having to manage different frameworks, not having that observability factor, and we see that often with all of our customers. And one other thing is that changing different programming languages to just
Mhm.
code to the agents is also one of the challenge we often see with our customers. So yeah, in the today's session, we are going to see how we can overcome it with your expertise and with a standardized way of building agents.
That's a good word, standardization. So yes, that is what we are looking for because we just adopted generative AI and agentic AI, and it came with a lot of legacy thing which we were doing. So that is what we are looking for. Okay, good. Now again, re-emphasizing what I know about agent building. So I've already explored things like managed services, which we discussed too about managed services as do it yourself. So when I'm looking for managed services, I go for Amazon Bedrock. That gives me all the platform and the dependencies, the orchestration tool, knowledge bases to get started. When it comes that, hey, because my business requirement has some constraint, some restrictions, I cannot do it onto a managed service, I want to do it myself. And that is where I can lean on a lot of open source things like Langchain, Crew AI, Llama Index. That's what I could leverage. And then this is something which I have no clue about. AWS Strands Agent. This is coming up with lots of discussion I have, lots of demos I attend in reInvent also. A lot of talk was about that. What is the Strands Agent? So I'll try to understand from you what is the Strands Agent. Can you explain me in simple terms what is going to be the Strands Agent?
Yes, let's discuss a little bit about these trans agents.
Yep.
So, Strands Agents is an open source SDK for building agents using just a few lines of code. So, taking your concerns, like when you're going into production and building an agent, there's no standardized way, or you have to write complex code to put it in all together to build an agent. But instead of it, what if we have a framework or a SDK which is just there for us to just take in the classes, take in the libraries, take the functions, and build an agent out of it. So, Strands agents come from the word, as it is mentioned in the word, Strands. It's a amalgamation of the model and tools. We will discuss more about tools in this session, but really, model having a brain for us to guide and tools to do actions. So, mimicking the human behavior in form of having a brain and also having to let it do some actions. So, Ashish, do you know about open source and SDK, or can you tell more about this SDK of what is the knowledge you currently have?
I have very simple knowledge about open source, which says if I don't pay for anything, that is open source for me. But obviously, it goes deeper, means community-driven development and then community-driven support. So yes, we don't want to log in into a specific framework, and that's why we are looking for open source. But SDK, I'm not that much familiar. So if you can give me a little bit more advice on what is SDK, why I would use it, why I can't just directly go and write my own programs.
Yeah, let's move on to. Mhm. So, as as the definition mentions, SDK is a software development kit which has like collection of tools, libraries, again documentation, and really gives us some sample code for helping developers to build applications. For example, for iOS we have iOS SDK. For AWS to build applications with it, we have AWS SDK. So the really advantage of these SDKs are really they save time, they reduce the complexity. Instead of us having to think a lot, we can just use it ready made and ensure that build applications and we interact with them correctly with the platform associated with it. So really, Strands SDK is a way we build applications. Um, we build AI applications with it. So I believe you got some idea, but if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to clarify here.
Makes sense. And then if I give you my own way of explaining things, I would say as an analogy, what could be an analogy for it? So we all might have played with Lego, and some of us may still be playing with Legos, right? So what Legos gives you, they gives you pre-configured pieces. So it is a box of Lego pieces. They have instruction, they have tools. You follow the instruction and you get what you need. And that's why that is easy for us to build something. I want to build an aeroplane. I want to build a house. I want to build something. I can just connect those Lego pieces based on the instruction given, tools provided to me, and that's what a SDK is. So rather than I building every single thing, I've got those bricks, I connect them, and then I get what I need. That is what an SDK looks like. Right?
That's a perfect
But
example.
then, and there is a confusion which always comes that what is a framework and SDK? Is there a difference between them or are they the same thing? So give me a little bit more information on that.
So SDK provides the libraries and APIs you use in the code to interact with the framework. Now, what is this framework? It's like the structure and patterns for building agentic applications. For example, like how agents, tools, memories, and workflows interact. You have like a structure of it, and you use these libraries to interact with that structure. So again, I would lean on you to explain with me a simple analogy.
Yeah, means I'm a layman, and obviously I have went to explain it through analogy. So I think framework is like an architectural blueprint. So let's say you're building a house, so you need a blueprint. You cannot just start laying out the bricks, right? So that is what a framework gives you. And framework will also talk about some restriction, like in US or UK, you have to follow these standard for electricity, these standard for drinking water, this standard for usable water. So that standard or blueprint or the rules which are defined, that is referred as framework. And when I start actually writing the code, I need tools, I need libraries. That is what a SDK is. So when you build house, you need a blueprint. That is your framework. And for that, you would also need hammer, drill, instruction, how to use that particular tool. That is an SDK. And why this becomes important in Strands and why we are emphasizing, because Strand is considered both. So it is an agentic AI framework that is provided through an SDK. So it is a combination and amalgamation of SDK as well as a framework. That's why we wanted to emphasize that it is not just one thing, but that is two things in together. That's why it is Strands. All right. Good. Now, so why we need to use Strands Agent? I'm coming back. I always ask why I should use it. I am not going to go with the marketing you have done. I want to know why I should be using Strands Agent. Give me some examples on that.
Yeah. Let me start sharing my screen to explain you simply.
That would be much better. Let me stop it here. Okay. Everyone, keep questions coming. We are answering into chat. Some of you have been getting the answers we are providing, and probably those questions are being answered. So feel free to ask as many questions, but be a little respectful if we are little delayed in answering your question. Anchal, let me know when you have shared the screen. Sorry, Kavya, let me add it to stage. Good, thank you. Yeah.
So just as you can see in the screen, this is the official website for Strands Agents SDK, where you have everything documented, including the rules for SDK Python and all the documentation for SDK, which is in TypeScript as well. So just want to let that word out. And with that, let me go into the presentation. Can you see my screen here?
I can see that.
So as you asked, why do we need to use Strands Agents? Really ease of use. So with just few lines of code or just using one or two classes, you can just build an entire agent. And then it has robust capabilities, which means that it has native integrations to AWS services. You can bring in your own tools. We will even see this hands-on today, how you can bring in your own tools, how you can connect to your own custom servers and so on. And its extensibility. So really, for example, you don't need to use a particular model or a particular frame. Just not need to stick to a particular model. This Strands Agents is model agnostic. You can bring in your own models. So the ability that it provides for extensibility is one of the benefit of Strands Agents. And then the rapid deployment. So starting with development efforts itself, you can iterate and see how your agent is working before even going to production with just a few lines of code and less effort. So overall, these are the advantages of Strands agents. Does that answer your question, Ashish?
That answers the question, and I would be more happy if I see some demos in coming section. So let's keep moving forward. All right. So how it interacts? What are the building blocks? What are the components? This is a good picture. Explain me a little bit on that because I want to know how these invocation and execution happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know there are a lot of terms on the screen, but let me explain you in a simple way. So agent is our main orchestrator. An agent mainly uses these three components. One, prompt. Prompt is like how we ask like a LLM a question like, hey, give me weather data for Seattle or something like that. Really, the natural language prompt to invoke this agent. So, agent takes in this input from the user and it does two things. One, it takes help of a model. Model is like a brain, and it can be any model: Claude, Anthropic's Claude, OpenAI, Bedrock models, and so on. So, it takes that model and it uses models to do something called as tool selection. I know we haven't discussed a lot about tools. So tools, as I was mentioning, are some actions which will allow the agent to do. For example, fetching an API call, for example, sending a Slack message, sending an email. Really, it could be anything. So in order for the agent to select, hey, which kind of tool I should invoke this time for this agent's question, it uses the tools and it executes the tools and it entirely returns the final response to the user. Let me explain with a simple example.
Okay.
So, for example, if a customer wants to ask what are the customer support tickets I have, which I have to solve, agent takes in that question as a prompt and it uses any model, LLM model we already configured, and it seeks out, hey, which tool I should invoke. For example, get support tickets is already a function which I define to call my support database. So it fetches the data using the tool execution and then gives the answer back to the user. So overall, this happens in a loop. It's not like one question and one answer interaction. It's a multi-turn, and it happens in a loop, and that's why we call it a agentic loop. Is this concept clear?
Yeah, I have a clarity on that. Thank you.
Got it. Now let me go through the structure and code of the strands and how we can easily develop it. With a few code snippets, I would walk you through the concept first, and then I will go into the live demo in my system. So,
So one thing to just pause you. This is a Python code, right, Kavya?
correct. This is a Python code.
That's Python code. Okay, good.
So, how can we build a first Strands agent? So, really, Strands agents need few components we need to import. For example, from Strands, the SDK itself import something called as agent. Agent is the class we can use in Python. And then we need to initialize the agent. So, as we discussed, it needs a brain. So, the brain is model, the LLM, and it could be any LLM. For here, it is a Bedrock model I'm using, Claude Sonnet 4.5, but you can bring in your own model since this is model agnostic. And then provide it a system prompt. System prompt is telling agent what to do. For example, if you have your employee and his job is to build BI dashboards, how we define some rules to him. Similarly, for agent, we define what it needs to do using system prompt. Here we are saying you are a helpful assistant that provides concise responses. Very simple example. And then your agent is done, built. All you have to do is just invoke that agent by just sending the message through the agent object we just created. For example,
So
hello.
this hello, tell me a joke. This is a prompt, I guess, right?
Correct. That's the prompt. So this is the
Okay.
prompt. This is the model. Here we have no tools, but I'm going to show you how we can use tools as well. But response carries the final response the user wants.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, go ahead.
So again, there is model choice. As I mentioned, Strands is model and agnostic. So here we use Bedrock. Now we can also use light LLM. So we have some of the models from Strands framework itself, where you can just import, and with the help of your own API keys, for example, here we used Azure GPT-4 or Mini. You get in your own API key if you have a preference of for your own model, and just create an object of it, and then just create an agent and then invoke the agent. So all we have to do is a slight configuration changes to build in your own model. Does that make
Makes
sense?
sense. Makes sense. Completely makes sense.
So let me go through two more content slides and show you the actual demo here.
That makes sense. And I'm seeing some questions here, which is like how I get these, like what are the open source model available? Like here you are talking about light LLM. So is there a repository I can go and look for the models? Yeah, that's the one.
That's a perfect segue for this slide. So, as you mentioned, you like open source model because they are free of cost. Exactly, that's one of the advantage of open source model. So, just to explain in your way, it's like a recipe that's shared with the world. Anyone can download it. Anyone can read how it works with the help of documentation, and anyone can modify with their own needs. Now, where do we get these models to the question? So there are certain repositories we can refer. For example, Hugging Face has thousands of free models for text-based, image-based conversations, audio, and more. Here, this is the sample link where you can go and get in those models. And one more really famous model is Olama. The speciality of it is that it can run AI on your own laptop without any internet, without cloud or cost. So I would highly suggest, if you're trying to experiment with some of the open source model, to experiment with Olama and see how it responds to your questions. So these are some repositories we can go, and there are many others as well.
These are not the only one, but these are some very
Yeah.
commonly used ones. Makes sense.
Exactly. So now moving
Okay.
on. Sorry, Ashish, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Like good. I'm just waiting. I'm like literally excited for the demo you are going to show me.
Got it. Yeah. Now this is the slide. We'll discuss this and go to the demo. So again, we talked about the agentic loop previously, but this is a high-level overview of how we can build simple Strands agents. So have the agent built with the help of libraries and the framework we have, give it instructions as to what it has to do, and invoke it using a prompt. And Strands agents would leverage large language model for the reasoning capabilities, and it also leverages the tools. Tools could be anything. Tools could be fetching database, sending an email, or um, getting with their API, or so on. And tools can be multiple tools as well. So let me go to the demo to show you some of the basics of Strands agents. Give me a moment. Could you please help me understand if you can see my screen?
I can. And I would need a little bit more explanation on tools, Kavya. So just give a demo and then we can talk about specifically what we mean by tools.
Absolutely. So this is a code snippet which I took from our workshop itself, where I'll be going through some of the concepts. And this is a Jupyter notebook, a place where you can write your Python code, experiment, and run in each cells. So first step is
So this is a free Jupyter notebook you're talking about?
So you can run it in your local, or you can run it using
Local
AWS.
laptop.
Currently, I'm using AWS environment, but if you want to run it in your local, you can do that as well, freely.
Makes sense. Good.
So first step is to install the library SDK itself. So I'm installing Strands Agents tools and Strands Agents. So I know we want to talk about tools. So we are going to do more of the talking in the next few minutes. So I have already installed it. So let me skip that step. So let me go through a simple architecture diagram here. Again, user.
Can I interrupt you, Kavya?
Yeah, for sure.
What we are trying to achieve here, okay, we can import something and do something. What is the end result we are trying to do here? When you say create a first agent, is it a very basic agent we are creating just for a hello world kind of a thing?
Yeah, it's a very basic agent.
That makes sense.
To help us understand the implementation details. So yeah, with that, moving on to the architecture, the user would build a Strands agents, and Strands agent, the specialty is that it can run in local environment as well. So now they can build it in their own environment, and the user can ask a question, and Strands agents takes help of the Bedrock LLM. In this use case, I'm using Bedrock LLM, but you are open to use any other models. And it invokes that LLM, process the output, and gives back the agent response. So we have seen the syntax already. We import the agent, create an agent instance, and then invoke. Just few lines of code, your agent is ready. Let me run this cell to show you the response. So we are asking, hello, tell me a joke. Now currently the model is trained, having only the trained data of Claude's on it. We are not providing it any tools to do certain actions or take any particular steps.
So it's like plain vanilla. We are invoking an LLM, and that is going to tell us a joke.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Let's see what funny joke it comes up with. Okay.
Okay, it is.
Good. Coming up. Yep, that's okay. Good. That makes sense. That's how the live demos should go.
Give me one moment. I'm gonna
Take your time.
My website.
So for people who do not know, Jupyter Notebook is an interactive way to run the code. It could be a Python code which you could run. It could be code which contains agent information, but it is basically like a shell where you have code, and then whatever get executed, that is also shown to you in the same place, so that you do not have to keep on moving forward and here. And it's a good way to share your code or a walkthrough of your code to someone else. So this Jupyter Notebook is really a great way. Okay.
I can't agree more.
Okay, that is, yeah.
So this is
why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. That's a good one. I like the one-liner, dad joke kind of a thing. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so that's good. Let's keep moving forward. Yeah, what else?
Yeah, so now we have seen syntax for invoking Bedrock model. But in this lab itself, we have experimentation code for Light LLM as well as Olama models. So you have to bring in your own API keys here. And then I'm not running it since I did not have the API key yet. But again, just instantiate the agent with the LLM model library, give it instructions and give it tools. We want to see this in more details, but this is the syntax for it. Okay, with that, let's move on to the next topic, which is adding the tools to the agent. So Ashish, you said you have some questions. Do you have any specific questions you want me to answer?
Yeah, so my understanding of tool is like let's say if I'm a carpenter, if I'm a plumber, I would need some tools to work whatever I need to do. Maybe I have to create a bench, or maybe I have to fix a leak. So I would need specific tools for the job. So is it the same thing like a tool for agent to work? So anything specific?
Exactly. You're absolutely right. So how your technician needs some tools to do some tasks, agent would take help of some tools to do some tasks for us. So we are going to let's see a sample code of how we can invoke or use some tools. So let's say our use case is to fetch some information from web through HTTP requests. So this is the code. All you have to do is from Strands tools, hey, I want this functionality, HTTP request. And all I would say is just while instantiating the agent, I would say tools equals to HTTP request. And good thing about Strands is it gives you some set of pre-built tools, but there is also option for you to build your own tools for your own functionalities.
So sorry to interrupt. Like it's like basic tools are built in already. Like if you are becoming a plumber, you would have some basic tool, and now you are going into, let's say, a specific area in plumbing, let's say big water houses, or maybe you are doing some fixing into geysers. You would need very specific tools. So standard tools are built into the agent, and then you can augment it with your own tools if needed. Am I right?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that analogy up. So some of the standard tools, like you mentioned, are called pre-built, and the more common task document are called custom tools, and we can do both of it with the help of Strands. So let me run this simple pre-built tools to see how it can help us. So as you can see, the agent is understanding the question, where is the International Space Station? So
Mhm.
now, based on this question, it automatically takes in the available tools it has and gives us a response back. It does a HTTP request method get, and it gives the response back, and the response is okay, according to the data I have from this web URL, I have latitude and longitude details. Um, yeah, all the different details we asked about, where is it particular, so it gives us exact position with the help of latitudes and longitudes.
Makes sense.
Similarly,
And so, just so to interrupt, so to clarify, so this HTTP request, like Anuradha asked, is it the tool which we are leveraging right now?
exactly.
Exactly. That makes sense. Yeah. Sorry. Let's go ahead.
Yeah. Similarly, there are other tool Strands itself provides you, like for shell commands, CLI commands, calculations. For example, this is one of the tool, like calculator. Again, based on my question, it takes in the uses the tool and give me the answer as 5. So this way, we can make sure that it's not hallucinating the responses, and it's using a trusted way to get our information back. Also,
Makes
talking
sense.
about custom,
And there should be a way to list all the agent, sorry, list all the tools which are with the agent. There should be some command or some code to execute for that, right?
yeah, we can do multiple age tools, invoke it, and as we go through this session, we will also see called as something called as MCP concept, which would also help us to do like the tool calling easily when we have like multiple tools together. So again, like you are like you're saying, we can either use we can both. Oh, yeah, we can both use the pre-built tools. We can also create our own tools. So how we can create a custom tool is just create a function and add a simple decorator at the rate tool. Now this will become your own
Okay.
custom tool. In this
Mhm.
tool, what it is doing is, this is like a dummy example. I'm just telling it, get me the weather. All I'm saying is get me the weather. Here you can implement your own code of how, as to how this tool can help you. And now I'm giving both the tools to the agent. And the good part is, agent, when I ask it a question, it does some reasoning behind the question and invokes the right tool without me saying. For example, if I ask about weather, it would invoke the weather tool. If I ask about calculation, it would invoke the calculator tool. So that's the good part about the agent. Okay.
Good. Now, while we do this, I have got a question here. If you're using a tool, then what is the purpose of LLMs? Good question. Think about the tool is a way of fixing things. Let's say there is a leak, but you have to first understand there is a leak, right? And that tool is not going to identify. That is your brain going to tell you, or your logic, or your expertise is going to tell you there is a leak in a pipe, and then you will get a tool to fix it. So LLM is the brain, and tool is the actual person or the hands who will do the work for you. So that is the difference. I say LLM is the brain who says, okay, I need to drink a water, so I have to pick up this water bottle, open it, and then use it. So my hands are tools, and when I need to drink, that is why intuition is coming from my brain. That is the LLM.
Got
Sorry
it.
for interrupting you, Kavya.
No, so yeah, this is what I wanted to show you, but let's continue with other presentation content we have.
Go ahead.
So just we have seen about the tools to get started. As I was mentioning, there are other tools like AWS services for coding and so on. So these are some of the examples. Again, we created custom tools like weather to get the weather. Okay. This is the response I missed showing you. It says the weather is sunny. It is fetching the tool based on the question here. Okay, let me go ahead and continue the presentation. So, as you were mentioning, there is a possibility to use not only single tool but multiple tools. So, in this example, depending on an agent task, it can invoke multiple either custom tools or pre-built tools. it can fetch some of the updates from a databases. For example, you can fetch update from SQLite, SQL database, and again, connection of the brain is the bedrock LLM itself. So the idea is to simply to tell everyone that you can have multiple tools and you can use your own databases. It is not dependent on any single database or any single bedrock model or anything as such. So you just need to simply tell it in the code, hey, I want to use 5 different tools or 10 different tools, and it agent would take in and understand it.
Can you go back to the previous slide? I didn't understand it quite. So here we are just defining that these are the tools available for this agent, right? We are not
Correct.
asking what I'm using this tool for. This is just like a list of tools which my
Correct.
agent has access to.
Correct. And
Okay,
we define this tool in a separate code, or you just again use the pre-built tools.
makes sense. And common question, if I do not have a tool for that specific task, what is going to happen?
That's an interesting question. So if you do not have a tool for a particular task, model uses its own knowledge, its own trained data,
Mhm.
and gives you back a response.
Makes sense. So, like, will the model work like we humans do? Sometimes we try to
Mhm.
fix things by the available tools, though we do not have a specific tool, but then we try to arrange some tools here and there, or try to find a. In India, we call it jugaad. So, will the model do the same thing also?
Exactly.
Oh, that makes sense. That's good. All right, good. So let's keep moving forward. So I understood what Strands Agent is. If I summarize it, that it is the easiest way to get started. I write few lines of code,
Mhm.
then my Strands SDK takes care of all the heavy lifting of defining and then interpreting and then calling an LLM and then getting me the responses, trying out different tools. So that's what I can use it. Now, tool is an optional part. Yes, that's true. Tool is an optional part, but most of the agent would have a tool, right? You would need some tools so that you can perform some tasks. So tools would be an optional thing, but I would say in most agentic AI system, you would be using a tool for getting some work done. That makes sense.
Yeah. So we have final concept for today's presentation is really understanding the MCP. I know Ashish, you have some background in understanding MCPs, so I would lean on you on analogies. But just to get started, MCP Model Context Protocol is again an open source standard for connecting your AI applications to external systems. Let me explain with my own example. If you have if, for example, if you're going to different city and you want to book a hotel, or ask some of the questions, you would go into the front desk, ask them questions. So what they would do is, okay, for example, if I have some luggage inquiry, the front desk would make a call and ask their own back-end hotel, whoever who's coordinating the agents, and then they would give us an answer. So similarly, MCP client is the that front desk who would make a call to MCP server, who is the back-end hotel system, with the help of transport. Transport is the phone call we make, and we can use LLM to do that call. And this back-end agents, what they would do is have their own record of luggage inquiries, their own prompts, their own tools, their own resources, and then give us an answer back. So really having a standardized way of interacting with AI applications is what NCP is helping us with. But Ashish, I'm handing it over to you to explain us in a bit more detail.
Yeah, makes sense. So yeah, means so I would call it like a front desk. So let's if you know about this old computers, this is how the back end of a computer used to look like. So we have different port for connecting a keyboard. There were color code. There were different port for connecting a network card, an SD card, microphone. So as you could see, there are many connectors available here. So what I have to figure out, I have to figure out which tool will go where, how I would connect monitor, where I would be connecting printer, where I would have a network connection, and that makes my life little complicated because I have to worry about all this integration and all the drivers associated with it, how this will all work. So that is how a legacy computer system used to work. But what we have today now, that we don't want these many cables. So if you move to next slide, Kavya, there
Mhm.
is like these many connectors which we used to have. and we still use these connector, but my laptop is small unit. In my laptop I cannot have these many ports coming out of it. So that's why what we need a way that we have a standard interface which is found in every single laptop, and that's what we would use a device like this. So what we're doing here, we are using a USB hub. So we all have the standard USB-C port in our laptop. Our laptop only understands USB-C connection, and this device in middle is ensuring that it translates those signal into the format which other devices understand. Like for network cable, it would be different. Maybe for my SD card, different signal. Maybe for my microphone, there would be audio connector required. So MCP is basically doing what? That it is translating information in a way that I do not speak multiple languages. I speak one language, which is USB-C, and then backend translates into different languages. Same like your give example of a hotel. So if I lost my luggage, I'm not going to call their luggage department. I'm going to call the hotel front desk that, hey, I lost my luggage. Can you ask your backend team to check? Let's say I have to do early check-in. I'm not going to talk to their accounts department. I'm again trying to talk to their front desk, and then they can connect me anywhere. So MCP is like a front desk which you speak in one language. Let's say you are going into different, let's say you go to Russia. Obviously, the front desk may speak English, but the backend staff may not speak English that well. But this front end or front desk is acting as a translator for you. They can translate question in their own local language and then get you the results which is coming up. So that's what happened. Now let's go to the next slide, that how we can leverage the same thing for our tools here. So AI agent needs to talk to different sources like databases, software as a service, or storage units, or API, or any other tools which we are looking for. So why we need to build all this logic in agent? That is too complicated. So we want to keep agent lean and thin. We keep LLM so that it is a brain, and then it has something called a MCP client. This MCP client is going to talk to the backend system for me. So MCP client, if it is a client, there should be a server who would respond. So there would be a MCP server which we will set up, and that MCP client would be using a protocol called MCP Model Context Protocol, and through that information goes to MCP server. MCP server figures out, hey, which tool to call in, what would be the format, because my API call would be different than a call to a storage unit. My software as a service call would be different than a developer tool call. So this whole internal mechanism of communication with backend is taken care by the MCP server. So it's a client-server architecture. AI agent sends request over MCP channel to MCP server. MCP server figure out what is the best way to talk to backend, and through that it is able to go and get the required responses from my application. So that's how we are able to get MCP acting as a translator or acting as an intermediary. So we do not need to worry about all the API or dev tool. We just talk one language and let it translate to any other languages if it needs to.
Got it. Like you mentioned, like instead of having hundreds of API calls and 100 different code for different things, now we have a standardized way to call all the backend resources, right?
Makes sense. That's true. And then a lot of time people also get confused that, hey, MCP sounds like Strands Agent. Obviously it is not. So I'm not going to read whole slide because we still have a lot of things to cover, but the slides will be available for you to download. So that would give you the way to read it. So read it, try to understand what is difference between Strands Agent and what is MCP. So MCP is basically the way we are talking to the resources. So MCP is a standard way for agent to connect to the tools, whereas Strand Agent is a way to build an agent itself, right?
Awesome.
Great. So good. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Ashish. Some of the examples in real world is how we can connect our client to server using standardized protocol. For example, you can make the client as Cloud Desktop or Kiro CLI, any IDEs you use, or any other AI applications. So with the help of MCP as a standardized protocol, we interact with the backend systems. Example could be SQL, Google Drive, maybe some development tools, or even your productivity tools like Slack, Google Maps, and so on. So let us see a piece of code to understand it a bit better.
And Kavya, these all notebooks are available for somebody to use in their own environment. It will share the links, right?
Yes, we can do that.
Makes sense.
So let me go into what we are trying to do today. So what we're trying to do is use an already existing MCP server and tell our agent, hey, use this server whenever it is needed. And what is the server we are trying to use is AWS documentation server itself, which has all the documentation of AWS. So within that server, we have searching the documentation as a tool functionality, reading a documentation as a tool, again, giving some recommendations as a tool. So now we configure our agent to invoke this MCP server using a set of few lines of code, and again use LLMs to give that reasoning capability for it. And let me try to go into the code as well. So yeah, before going into straight into the code, there are some things we use as to how to communicate with the agents, MCP servers. So there are some ways like standard input output, which is like interacting with the client and server within your local laptop. That's one way, and streamable HTTP is one more way, is to how to interact with some of the MCP servers on internet. So in this example, I'm gonna share how we can use standard input output way of interacting with the MCPs. So first thing is to import a specific libraries, include, as I was
Can
mentioning.
you zoom in little bit? Little
Yeah.
bit zoom in would help.
Can you see the
Yeah,
screen?
this is better. Yep.
So we need few libraries to get started. One is fast MCP for using these MCPs and creating interaction between the MCP client and server. And the transportation method itself, either we can use standard input output or we can use streamable HTTP. For this example, I'm just using standard input and output itself. So first thing is to connecting the MCP server itself to using a standard input output transport. So this is the class we use, and standard, this variable is an object we are creating to use our server. So I know these terms can be initially confusing, but simply this is a way we tell how to call our server with the help of this particular transportation method. So command UVX is telling how to start the server itself, and args, in the args we are defining what MCPs we have. So AWS itself has lot of MCPs for CDKs, documentation, and these are trusted way of getting the information. And I use these MCPs all my day-to-day work as well. So with the help of Lambda and STDOI, standard input output client, and giving it some server parameters, we are telling, hey, whenever I needed an MCP interaction, start the server for me. And this is the server I'm using. So
is this server running on your local machine as of now?
that's a good question. Yes. So since we have used SDDIO client, it is running in my local server.
Local machine. And same way, it could be hosted in AWS infrastructure or someone else infrastructure. Obviously, it is guarded by the security mechanisms like API keys or authentication mechanism. So someone else can host it, and you can still leverage it if they give you permission to access it, right?
Exactly. And now we have the client object ready for MCP. What we can do is list tools sync. Basically, we want to this tools is the way we want to give the agents the tools, and we are telling, hey agent, whenever I have a question something about documentation, list all the tools in my MCP server and give me an answer back. So instead of us defining what to use, we are telling use all the tools which are existing. And now we create an agent, again instantiate it with the model and give it tools. Now tools has all the tools from the MCP server. So now when we ask what is Bedrock pricing model, be concise. Previously, we may not know if the answer is correct or if it's accurate or the model is hallucinating. Now, since it's using trusted AWS documentation MCP server, we can be sure that, hey, this response is correct because it's using the tool search documentation based on my query, and it's giving me a response back. So it is searching, it is reading, and it is giving us an answer back. Now it's telling, depending on documentation, Here's how the pricing model works. There are 2 pricing options, and for detailed pricing, it even tells us the reference link where we can go and get the information. So that's an example I would like to share. But do you have any questions, Ashish?
No, I'm good. No, obviously it is not a topic which I can understood fully in one single go, but it is good starting point for me. So obviously this gives me a direction what to look for. If to summarize it, so if I'm trying to talk to different entities as my tools, probably I would use an MCP server, so I do not need to write specific code for every single integration I'm making. And you can host your MCP server locally, or it could be hosted by someone else. And if you have permission, you should be able to access those MCP servers, right?
Correct.
Good. So thanks, Kavya. Really appreciate your time, and hopefully people have also understood some of the context we have discussed. Again, I don't expect you to become an expert in MCP in one 60-minute session. It's a little complex than that, but it should give you the basic foundational knowledge, and you can expand it through the workshop we are going to do. So we'll be doing workshop, and we'll be discussing lots of interesting stuff during that too. But now it is time for the behavioral track. So what we discussed so far is we discussed about designing with Strands Agent. We talked about a little bit of MCPs, and then again, it is a starting point. We'll go in depth in coming session. We'll discuss about a lot more interesting stuff as we go now. But now it is time for the behavioral track. So thanks, Kavya, and I'll bring Prasad to the stage, and Prasad would take over and understand and help us in going to the behavioral part. Hey, welcome, Prasad. You may be on mute.
Mute seems like it will be all Jeff and Achal this time. So let me get Jeff on the screen. Probably we can stop the screen share, and let me also
I can do that.
Achal on the screen.
There was a question I want to just quickly address is how to provide feedback. So there is Discord channel, you could provide feedback. If there is very specific you want to talk to, reach out to us on LinkedIn, but not for generic stuff. So because why I'm emphasizing Discord channel every time, because you have a lot of amazing volunteers who are monitoring these chats on Discord. So it is a better way to respond to you. If you ask a question directly to me or Prasad or anyone else, it must take us time to go to that question, understand. And again, it depends. So it's better that you ask questions in Discord. And if you have very specific feedback you want to relate to us only, reach out to us on LinkedIn. We have no problem.
Or send it on the support@besaprogram.com email.
support@besaprogram.com. So that Gmail is also there. So thank you. And I'll go off stage. I'll drink some water and let Achal and Jeff drive the conversation. Thank you so much.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Welcome to the behavioral track for week 3. And today we're going to be discussing how you can use AI tools as a solution architect to accelerate the discovery and requirements gathering work that you need to do. My name's Jeff. I've been doing this behavioral track for a while now. I'm a principal architect here at AWS with a focus on modernization. And I'm partnered here with my colleague Anshul, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anshul Agrawal, and I've been with AWS for a little over 6 years now. This is my first time volunteering with BESA, and I'm really excited working with everybody.
Awesome. Thank you. So we're going to kind of go over a scenario today where we're getting ready to prepare for a meeting with an app team or a customer. And we're actually going to be playing the roles that we actually live in AWS. So Anshul is a technical account manager, or TAM, and in this scenario, she's playing the TAM that's been working with a customer for 24 months, and she knows the customer really well. And I'm playing solution architect, which is my role. And this is my first meeting with the customer that Anshul works with. And while I know cloud modern architectures very well, I don't know this customer, and I only have 48 hours to get prepared for this. So in the old world, this would be a lot of manual work, multiple days of preparation. However, in the new world, we can compress this significantly down from days to hours. And I'll kind of even show you a little personal assistant that we're going to be using that uses a Claude 4.5 Sonnet. And I will post that assistant afterwards. I'm just not going to post it during it because I don't want you running off and trying to use it while we're giving our demo today. So we're going to kick it off here. All right. Anshul, I'm glad I caught you. I just got assigned to work with a customer that you work with, Amazon Prime Video. My first meeting is Thursday. I only got 48 hours to prepare. I know basically nothing about them beyond the account name. Where do I even start?
Well, that's perfect timing, Jeff. I've been the TAM on this account for a little over 2 years now, and I know them pretty well. But I have to say, I'm curious, how will you prep for it? Because how much time usually do you put into these meetings?
Usually I would spend like a full day just reading their websites, press releases, maybe some industry reports, then another half day trying to figure out what questions to even ask them. By the time I walked in, I felt like I'd done a lot of work, and I still wasn't really sure if I was asking the right things.
That's honestly exactly how I still do it, and it's exhausting. So, what changed for you?
The difference now is how I use AI to compress 2, sometimes even 3 days of prep time down into hours, really kind of around 3 hours. And I come out the other side with sharper questions, better context, and a clearer picture of what this customer needs. Not just what they say they need, but here's the thing. AI can't tell me what you know. I need your help with the customer specific highlights.
Well, I'm all ears. So, walk me through your process, and I'll fill in what I know about the people and the dynamics at the company.
Awesome. So first thing before any customer meeting, and I mean any meeting, is I brief my AI tool on the customer. Not just tell me about Amazon Prime Video. I mean a real brief. Industry size, what they're doing, what keeps their leadership up at night.
So, what does that actually look like?
Yeah, so if I'm using my tool here, I'll typically come in and first kind of put some information in here. Just ask my agent, here's my customer. What can you tell me about them? So I'll say, Amazon Prime Video, if it's they're modernizing legacy on-premises applications. What may be some of the top cloud architecture concerns in that space, regulatory or compliance requirements, and common modernization challenges a company like that might have. And I kind of prompt it there, and it'll just kind of do its thing.
Okay, and what do you get back?
As you see, it's working here. And in about 2 minutes, I get a breakdown of things like regulatory landscape, like GDPR,
Can I interrupt you
CCPA.
both in a minute? Sure.
Yeah.
Can you zoom in, Zeph, so it would be a little visible for the other audience too? Yeah. A little bit zoom would be better. Yeah, zoom in a little bit more. Maybe font size increases, so it would be easy for us. That's much better. Much
How's
better.
that?
Thank you so much.
Much
Sorry
better?
for interrupting.
All right. Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
better.
No, appreciate you breaking us in. And common patterns that they're dealing with, like multi-protocols, maybe add insertion, object storage, and other things like modernization pitfalls that are specific to streaming media services, global content delivery, latency sensitivity, and also teams that might have some pride in what they've already built.
Okay, that's honestly awesome. This would have taken me half a day to piece everything together from 100 different sources. But honestly, here's what AI doesn't know. Their CTO, David, is extremely cost conscious. The board is pushing him for a 20% infrastructure cost reduction by end of year. Their CISO, the Priya, is very risk averse, and she will push back hard on anything that touches customer data. And their engineering lead, Marcus, has a talented but small team. So they're around maybe 10 to 15 engineers in total, and they're stretched really thin.
That's gold information right there. So as you can see, AI gave me the industry baseline, but you really know the customer and can add the specific color to what we're talking about. So now I can layer that information on top of what AI already gave me. So I can do things here in terms of like, what are maybe some of the specific challenges that they have? And layer in here what you mentioned in terms of some of the stakeholder concerns.
Okay.
And now we can layer and see what AI gives me.
Oh, nice. So you're basically combining the general landscape with the specific terrain that we have.
Exactly. As I walk in knowing both kind of the industry landscape and the specific color that you gave me to formulate, questions and context based around the known concerns of the company, I can get better information. Things like, what are the most common objections and concerns that streaming media companies might raise when modernizing legacy applications? And what are the most effective responses?
That's honestly really smart. You're essentially preloading the objection handling.
Exactly. I'm not just preparing to answer questions, I'm preparing to anticipate them. Based on what you just told me, David's probably going to ask me about cost predictability. Priya's probably going to ask me about data residency and encryption. And Marcus is probably going to ask me how much lift this puts on his already stretched teams. If I've already thought through some of those angles before I walk in, I'm not reacting, I'm leading.
That's a completely different level of preparation than what I would have done. What about competitive landscape though? Should you be researching what other cloud providers are doing and what they're offering them?
Absolutely. I should come in here knowing that I'm probably going to get questions like that. So I can add into some of my things here, like the concerns, and have it regenerate answers by asking it things like, what are key differentiators that my company, AWS, offers for streaming media services compared to other companies, specifically for legacy application migration? And I want to know where we're strong and where a competitor might try to wedge in, not to be defensive, but just to kind of go in with a little bit more confidence.
Makes sense.
Okay, so now that I've done the research, now I need to figure out what to ask in the meeting. This is where AI as a meeting prep assistant really shines. AI can give me customer context and ask it to generate discovery framework questions, which you can already start to see here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would love to see what it looks like.
So as you can see here, it gave me questions, and I have the prompt here, a system prompt behind the scenes, which is basically telling it to kind of break this down for me. So as I'm going through this, I can think along something like this. I'm a solution architect preparing for my first meeting with a streaming media services company who's looking to modernize their applications. The attendees include CTO, CISO, and an engineering lead, which I entered right over here. Generate a set of discovery questions organized by business drivers, technical environment risk, compliance, team capabilities, and success criteria.
And does it actually give you useful questions?
Yes, it does. However, I'd really kind of caution us to say this maybe gets us 70 to 80% of what we need. And here's where we come in. When AI generates these questions, things like, what are your primary business drivers for moderation? That's fine for a cold call with a customer. But based on your knowledge and what you told me about David, the real question might be, you mentioned to Anshul that the board is pushing for 20% infrastructure cost reduction by the end of the year. How is modernization tied to that goal? So we really want to start to kind of, re-prompt this with very more specific information that we know. And that drives a completely different conversation.
Yes, exactly, because it shows now that you've done your homework and you're not starting from zero. So I can help you customize these questions for each person. For example, the CTO, David, thinks in terms of business outcomes and cost. The CISO, Priya, she thinks in terms of risk and control. And Mark is the engineering lead, thinks in terms of team capacity and technical debt.
That's perfect. So I kind of like to use this analogy, like AI gives me the skeleton of these questions to ask, as we're seeing here, but we really provide the muscle that makes it all work together. And together, we're going to have much sharper questions to be asking. For example, I might take AI's question about team capabilities and sharpen it based upon what you just said. Like, Marcus, walk me through your team's current bandwidth. What percentage of their time is spent keeping the lights on versus new development? And how does that factor into your modernization timeline?
Wow, that's a much more specific question. It tells you immediately how realistic that timeline is.
Exactly. And here's a pattern recognition tip. AI actually is quite good at spotting gaps and requirements in the conversation. After I draft my question list, I might prompt, here's my discovery question list for streaming media services company. What important topics or questions am I missing? 9 times out of 10, it catches something, maybe things like you haven't talked about anything around disaster recovery targets or data migration strategy or organization change management. So it can help even kind of spot where maybe I haven't spent enough time thinking through where I need to direct conversation.
These are really good topics, especially organizational change management. I never think to ask about organizational change management in the first meeting, honestly. But you're right, if Marcus's team isn't brought in, the best architecture in the world wouldn't matter.
Agree. And that's exactly the kind of things that AI flags. Not because it's smarter than me, but because it's not inside my head making assumptions on what the customer already knows. So I'm using AI to stress test my own blind spots, and then I'm using your customer knowledge to make my questions land with real impact.
That makes sense. So this is all pre-meeting. What about during the meeting itself? You can't exactly be typing prompts into AI while David is talking, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not running a live conversation with AI when I'm having a conversation with customers. I need to put my focus on them. But in the breaks, if there are some breaks in there, like a natural pause where someone steps out or maybe someone's having a side conversation, I can kind of use my AI tool as to do a quick fact check or pull up, a reference architecture concept. More importantly, I use it kind of after the meeting. But in the meeting, I may ask it, certain things. I could say, if during the meeting, and I have my little part here, if there's a natural pause and I knew that the CISO was, has a big concern about customer data privacy, I might just kind of put something in here and real quick, it gives me, something back here that I could kind of mention in terms of, if there's challenges where I could mention things about NDA or schedule deep, a technical deep dive. So I can use it, as an assistant in there, but I have to make sure that I'm holding my conversation
Of course.
with the customer.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then after that, you do it after the meeting, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So here's a habit I built. The moment I walk out of the meeting, before I even get back to my desk, I do a quick dump of the notes, everything I've heard, every concern that was raised, every offhand comment. And then I feed it into my AI tool with a prompt kind of along the lines of here's my raw notes from this discovery meeting with the streaming media services company around modernizing their application. Identify, explicit requirements stated or implicit, requirements I should infer, concerns that may have been there, objections that were raised, the gaps, the things that I don't know.
Wow, that's brilliant. Because in the moment you're focused on the conversation, you're reading the room, you're managing the dynamics, you're following up on threads. You can't simultaneously be doing structured and requirement analysis. So this is brilliant.
Yeah. So AI does that for me after the fact. So, I'll just kind of dump a bunch of things here to kind of simulate, all my raw meeting notes. And I have system prompts behind the scenes here to kind of do what I was just talking about. So AI does that part after the fact. I bring the judgment about which gaps matter in reading through this. And then you and me, you specifically who knows the people, can help me interpret what's most important and what's kind of just noise in here. So as you can see, it brings up the key discussion points, what pain points were there. And then kind of more importantly, it can start to define things like where there maybe some opportunities in there. And then really important, what are some action items that can be inferred from my meeting notes? And then you and me would really have to sit down here and determine what would we actually do with this.
Okay, so are these all kinds of gaps that typically surface because you do this often?
Yeah. So, it can help me identify gaps in things like, disaster recovery targets. We tend to maybe sometimes forget to talk about RTO and RPO requirements or data migration strategy. We talked a lot about modernization, but not necessarily about how the data moves, or budget authority. We know there's a cost goal, but we don't know who really approves the spend and integration dependencies. What other systems does this touch that we may not have mapped out yet in our conversation?
Yeah. And those are exactly the kind of things that blow up in a project 6 months in. And I can tell you right now, Priya will have strong opinions about DR and data migration. She's been burned before on another cloud project that didn't address data residency properly. So that is something that we'll absolutely have to be careful about.
Yeah, and see, that's the kind of context changes and how we follow up that we definitely need to know about. If you hadn't told me that, I might not have treated it. I might have just treated this as a standard compliance question. Now that I know there's a trust issue, we're going to need to make sure that we give a little bit more attention on that.
That makes perfect sense. So now that we've discussed what you do during the meeting, let's say that the meeting goes well. What does the post-meeting workflow look like?
Yeah, two things. First, the requirements documentation. I take my structured AI analysis and turn it into clean requirements that I can share with the customer. Something like, based on our conversations, here's what we heard as your primary objectives. Here are key constraints and open questions. Customers love this. It shows that we're listening, it creates alignment, and it surfaces any misunderstanding early.
And what's the second thing?
The second thing is, follow-up questions. AI will generate a list of things that I still need to find out that I'm kind of showing here on the screen here, questions for additional clarity. I review it, discuss it with you, prioritize based on what matters most for this customer, and then send a targeted follow-up. Not like a generic, hey, great meeting, here's some next steps. I can say, hey, here are 3 things that we need to understand before we can propose the architecture. So I can make my follow-up message back to them, very specific, tailored to exactly what we heard, and I can do it quickly because I have the tool helping me with all this.
That is brilliant, because that's a very different kind of follow-up than what I usually send. And I think David, Priya, and Marcus, all 3 of them will really respect your approach. They're all very no-nonsense people.
Yeah, I feel like it positions me and us as someone who's already thinking architecturally, not just administratively. And it sets us up really for that next conversation with a clear agenda. What about the gap analysis, the things we don't know?
Okay, then, and that's a clear segue into your meeting number 2. So you have a prep list ready for meeting.
Exactly. I feed it back into AI with the update contest from meeting 1, and I start the cycle again. Each meeting, the picture gets sharper. Each meeting, the questions get more specific. And by the time I'm proposing the architecture, I'm not guessing. I'm solving a problem I understand, and I have you as the TAM who knows the relationship dynamics. And that together was what makes this all work.
That's awesome.
So I came to you thinking I just need a customer background, and you gave me relationship content. You gave me the relationship context that makes the difference.
And honestly, you've shown me a completely different way to prepare for these meetings. I've been doing this manually for years. This AI assisted approach could save me so much time, and it would make the meeting way more effective.
That's the shift. Prep isn't about consuming information. It's about generating insight. AI helps me consume faster. But the insight, what matters most for this customer and for this meeting, what questions will unlock the real conversation, and what risks are hiding in plain sight, that comes from combining what AI knows with what you know.
So, if I may ask, what are the 3 things you're doing before Thursday?
Yeah. That's the shift. Prep isn't about consuming information. It's about, 3 things. First, I brief AI on the customer, in this case, Amazon Prime Video, industry size, modernization context, and get the regulatory and architectural landscape. Second, I layer in everything we know about the company, like what David and Priya said. I generate my discovery question framework, and then I stress test it to understand where there might be gaps in those questions. And then working with you, I customize those questions for each stakeholder based upon your insights. And then third, after the meeting, I do the dump of the notes immediately, feed it into AI for structured requirements and gap analysis. That becomes my follow-up and my prep for meeting 2. And that's where I loop you in on what I learned.
Okay, then it brings me to my next question. What's one thing you should not do in these meetings then?
Don't walk in with a generic deck and a generic set of questions. This customer in our context, they've talked to other solution architects. They probably talked with other teams. The ones that they remember are the ones who walked in already with an understanding of their world. And AI gives me the ability to do that. Even on 48 hours, really short notice, helps me. And your customer knowledge is what really makes it real for me.
That's awesome. Looks like you have some work to do. And honestly, I'm going to start using these tools for myself as well. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Awesome. So in closing here, thank you very much for the role play here. And as I was just kind of think about the takeaway for other solution architects here, pre-engagement research, AI can compress the research time, but only us as humans can add the actual expertise and customer-specific relationship context. I talked about the discovery questions and how AI kind of generates the skeleton, but we're the muscle. It's only the collaboration with the team that we really can make this all work together. Use AI to kind of stress test and find the blind spots. I can work with the questions it gives me. I can augment those, but really kind of help understand where might you be missing things. I'd say cautiously use AI for real-time support in meetings. Look for maybe some of those breaks or immediately post-conversation. Don't break yourself in mid-flight or interrupt someone who's answering a question to kind of alt-tab over to it. And then finally, the post-meeting analysis. This is something I used to spend a lot of time kind of documenting things, and I'd be running from meeting to meeting, and I wouldn't necessarily type everything down. Feed the raw notes into AI for generating that post-meeting analysis, the requirements, the implicit needs, and the gap. And just remember here, better preparation is a formula. It's AI expertise plus relationship knowledge, which really is the winning combination here. You need both of those things. So thank you very much, everyone, for today. I will be posting in the comments here the link to the tool that Anshul and I used today. You'll be free to use it on your own to kind of help you with your own prep. And you can also make copies of that tool. It's an AWS Party Rock app that's built upon Claude 4.5 Sonnet. You can use it as is, or you can make copies of it on your own to use it. And I encourage you all to use AI in your prep, in your analysis, and your post-meeting. While this was a role play scenario that we did here today, this is what we do in our world to kind of help us get prepared. And I'd encourage you all to do the same. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jeff. And actually, that was amazing.
Amazing discussion. Amazing.
Yeah, people already want to dive deep into the Party Rock. A lot of comments there, and shows.
Yeah, I'll pull up the
actually
link here and share it.
accelerate the time.
Yeah, meeting preparation is hard, and because it requires deep research, and you are not talking to anyone. You're talking to a top decision maker, and one meeting can drive the whole team in a different direction altogether. So you have to be better prepared for it, and that's how you build trust also with them when you come prepared.
And for me, how it has also helped me is it has helped my context switching time very much. So when I use AI, right, and I'm dealing with multiple customers in a day, and back to back if there are meetings, and because this AI app, like, we all have our own specific AI tools that we use. Internally, we have like QuickSuite, so I kind of use that quite a lot. And each of those QuickSuite profiles have a customer profile end to end. And I just, kind of, before going into the meeting, I ask them what are the top points I need to discuss in this meeting. And it helps me, switch that context very quickly. So yeah, thanks, Jeff, for showing that. And Anshul, I love the way you are providing inputs. That, what do you call it? The relationship that we as a humans build with the customers. That's
Yeah.
really important. AI can help you to a certain extent, but the cherry on the top is your human skills.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Prasad, Ashish, and thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Awesome. Should we move on to the last section now?
Yeah, interesting, and yeah, lot of things are happening here. So obviously, everyone feel free to rewatch the videos, like it, subscribe it, so that others are also aware about it. And when you like, subscribe, it will also give you the buzz when we go live with different videos. So make sure you make most out of it. I don't expect you that you learn every single thing from this session, but you would learn at least most of the things from it. And then go ahead, run it into better speed or into a faster speed, rewatch the videos, pick up notes, send out notes, ask questions. That's how you would learn. You have to engage yourself. You don't have to be just a passive listener. Otherwise, you will not make most out of it. So be active, ask questions, respond to questions of other, research the question which you do not know answer about. And AI has made our life so easy, right? I think we go to AI tools more often than we used to go to Google. So that's how easy it is. So leverage it for day-to-day things. Like a very simple example Jeff has shared, you could build it for your own learning purposes. Why not? So that will be really, really helpful. Right, Prasad?
Yes, yes. Cool. So for the
Good.
final section, let's have Anil. So I know that a lot of people are waiting for Parna. Parna is not available this week. So we have Anil who will be walking through for the last session. But before I hand it over to Anil, I want to show one thing to everyone for the workshop. The emails are
Can you
sent
zoom in a
now.
little bit more, Prasad? A little
More.
bit more.
Okay. Hopefully this would be
That's
better.
better. Yep.
Okay. So emails are sent now at 4:30 p.m. Right now that we are talking, the emails are scheduled to send out.
For slot one.
For slot one, exactly. For slot one, for slot 2 and 3, it will be 30 minutes before your slot starts. Everything is automated, all scheduled. Please check your spam. Once this live session is over, you should be having, if you're not received already, it should be in there. If not, reach out to us on our Discord and we will try and look into it. While you're in the email, you will find a link where you will click and it generally lands you on this page to access the code, right? So once you land this, all of you have been using this option, email one-time password. You can continue using that, but as an optional, if you would like, I would encourage everyone to try AWS Builder ID. What it does is that if you do this, it will build your AWS profile over the time that it will records kind of workshops you are doing and other things. So if you're thinking about long-term working with AWS as a platform, AWS Builder ID provides you access to a lot of other things also. So see if you can build your AWS Builder ID. In the email, there is a link that we have sent how to create your Builder ID. It's pretty straightforward. When you click on AWS Builder ID here, instead of one-time password, it will take you to this page where you can do a continue with Google because it is a Gmail ID which you have done. Continue with Google, enter your password, and it will create your Gmail ID Builder ID automatically with the Gmail that you have registered. And that's pretty much. In the email, we have sent you this link how to create a Builder ID. And if you see here, navigate to Builder profile, which is the same page that I talked about, and sign in. Continue with Google. Instead of putting a password, you can put a email and password if you would like, but you can simply continue with Google and it will create it. And that will create your AWS Builder ID profile, and it can be used for multiple things also. It's optional. If you want to continue using OTP, continue using that, no problem at all. But Builder ID is going to help you in the long term.
Yeah, it will track whatever you do, right? So it is much better to build the portfolio. Sometimes you may have to go back, and if it's all the information is available in one single place, it's easy to go back and research and then revisit that information. Thank you. Handing over to you, Anil, and please walk us through the workshop. I know it is a longer workshop, right? So a lot of things you have to discuss. So please go ahead.
Yes.
You want me to share your screen?
Thank you. Yeah, let me share my screen. Okay, so Let me know if you can see my screen.
Let me add it here. Give me a minute. So, do you see his screen? I don't.
I don't.
Oh.
And
So, Anil, you may have to click on share somewhere.
Yeah.
I know that we
So-
use so different tools every time. Like internally, we have Slack, and then we have Zoom and Teams, and then StreamYard. So probably there is a share button somewhere.
Yeah, I can see that, but it does not come up with the screen option. Not sure.
no, if you click on it, there's a share screen option just above it, and if you click on that,
It is
How about this now?
it may be a long list where you meet screen 1, screen 2 at the
Yeah,
very
can
bottom.
you see now?
I can see it
Yes.
now. Let me add it to stage.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And let me just quickly walk you through about how you're going to access this particular workshop. So Prashad has already walked you through like how you'd be landing into this page. So once you provide your email ID and you'll get the OTP, and then you pass that OTP, and then you'll come to this particular page, right? So first of
Anil,
all,
I always say to everyone, and I've become a rhetorical here, can you zoom in a little bit so it would be easy for everyone?
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah,
No worries.
thanks.
Is it okay now? Okay, perfect. So basically, the moment you come to this particular page, you see the complete workshop here. This is the workshop that I'm using, and that you'd be using. It's a getting started with the Strands Agents, right? So I think in the technical track section, you all have already gone through and you understood that what exactly Strand Agent is and how you're going to use it, like making a call to the tools or how to use the different kind of models, right? So I'm not going to talk much on that. Maybe I'll give you a little idea about once I go through the PPT. But for this particular lab, I would like to walk you through what is there in this lab. So first of all, there are sections. For example, there's a prerequisite sections, fundamentals, and fundamentals, multi-agent system with the Strand agents, deployment, and use cases. So first, let's get started with the prerequisite. So of course, you have already gone through. How you are going to start with this particular workshop. You know how to land into this page. The moment you come in, you can see there are 3 sections here. Basically, AWS setup and self-paced. Self-paced means if you want to do this particular workshop into your own account, you can do it. But understand there would be a cost associated, especially from Bedrock, and you'd be using some of the, let's say, for example, like knowledge base. So because of that, it would incur cost. And some of the resources, for example, DynamoDB, Fargate, because you'd be deploying some of the things. So I would encourage all of you, because you got this particular workshop you'd be doing into AWS event setup. So the moment you click here, you'll see there are certain prerequisite, means before you start, you need to just read it through. So I'm not going to walk you through, like if you have already, let's say, logged into some other account, log out from there. And then again, what Prasad has just explained a little bit earlier. So you can go through this part. And if you see this page, this is the exact page I am on right now, right? So once you are here, I would walk you through now. For example, you can see there's an open AWS console. So basically, this is the AWS account where you'd be doing all the experimentations. If I click here, it would take me to AWS account, means AWS management console. The moment it opens, you see again, you need to just walk, go through this part. I'm skipping this part, self-paced. I would start from the SageMaker AI Studio. Means once you are into AWS Management Console, you need to start from here, SageMaker AI Studio. So SageMaker AI Studio, basically, why I'm talking about this, because one of the tool or a kind of service you are going to use is a SageMaker AI Studio that contains different kind of features. One of the features is like a kind of service, I would say. It's a Jupyter notebook you'd be using, right? So how you are going to do it? So first of all, just go to the AWS Management Console and type in SageMaker AI. So you can see here SageMaker AI, click on this, and then it will take you to the SageMaker AI, console page. Okay, so while it is opening, let me just walk you through. So you can see there are the options like, the procedures given, like how you'd be going through the process. So you see here, there is something written in Studio. Here there's a mismatch basically because this screenshot is a little older, but like AWS is making a lot of changes, in the services. You see there are a few mismatch, but don't worry about it. Let me see why it is not opening. Hold on a second. Now you can see, you see here SageMaker Studio. It says that is Studio. So don't worry about this one because it's just the name. Click here on the SageMaker Studio. Rest of things you'll see it is completely okay. And there's a profile, Strand users, open the studio. So this is the step you are supposed to take. So once you click on this one, basically it will take you to the SageMaker Studio. SageMaker Studio is like a kind of one-stop solution or for all the machine learning related, for example, let's say if you'd like to do some, if you'd like to build a machine learning models, all the stuff, like cleaning the data and preparing and creating the model, deploying it, all those things you can do it. But today we are not talking about that. You can see there's a SageMaker, it's Jupyter Lab. I have already run this. That's the reason you can see it shows open. But in your case, it would show run button, right? So you just click on that. It's like action you have to perform. The moment you click on run, it would take like 30 to 60 seconds. And once you see this, options like stop and open, you need to click on open. It will take you to the, Jupyter notebook. Okay, so once you are there, while it is opening, let me just take you to this place again. All these things, what I'm talking about, it's all listed here, right? You can see this is the run button.
Anil, can I stop you for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you brief me or brief us like what we are trying to achieve from this particular workshop? What is the end result we are looking for?
Yeah, so Ashish, give me some time because I'm just trying to
Okay, you're coming to that.
land to that place. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about that. What
makes sense. Makes sense. Sorry.
I'm just trying to tell them that yes, how you are going to land on the Jupyter
keynote page.
Yeah.
Okay, I see your screen sharing stopped somehow. I don't know why.
Okay, let me do it again.
Yep. Technology has its own fun way sometimes.
Yes. Can you see my screen now?
Give me a minute. Yeah, it is there. Yeah, adding it here. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Probably it went away again. Anil.
Oh, I think. Here we go. Can you see now?
Yep, now I'm adding it to stage.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
Again, zoom in a little bit. Yep, that's better. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so in the interest of time, let me just quickly walk through. So, guys, you can see here, first of all, the moment you land here, it would show you sample and user profile EFS. So basically, the whole idea is to bring you at this place, like sample. Within that sample, you can see there are two options, tutorials and sample. Under tutorials, you see there are three sections again, fundamental, multi-agent system, and deployment. So if I just go back to this place, and you remember when I started, I said there are certain sections, fundamental, multi-agent, and deployment. So basically, these are the three sections that you have to focus on. All the labs are here only. So the idea of doing this lab is to make you familiarize with what exactly the Strand agent is and what are the capabilities are there. For example, under fundamental, you can see it says like getting started. What exactly the getting started is all about? You see like how you are going to install, let's say, some of the libraries, and then how you're going to create. And this is what Kavya was talking about, I think, in the technical track sections. You see that how you're going to create agents. What are the a line of code you have to write. For example, let's say you are going to you'd be installing some Strand agents like what we call like packages, and then you are going to include let's say import warning, all the stuff like import agent, and then you're going to tell that which particular model it is going to use, right? So Strand agents provides you the options like which particular models you'd like to include. Not only a Bedrock one, you can use any of other models. So I'm not going to talk about these things. I'll be talking in my PPTs, but what is the point I'm trying to explain here? So since you are on this particular page, and you can see this is the Jupyter notebook. If you did not use in past, so it's a very straightforward. You can select the cell. This is something we call the cell. You can see there'll be multiple cells coming in, right? And all the information related to this particular lab, especially the fundamental one. If you go to the fundamental, you can see there's a first agent, model providers, all the labs are there. But you can see, as I said in the beginning, there are 8 labs here. Can you see under fundamental there are 8 labs, but here you see there are 10. So you have to do only up to 8, right? If you go to the first agent, the first lab, you see there is a what you call the Jupyter notebook. So you need to open it, which I have already opened, right? So once you land on this particular page, how you're going to run this cell? So there are 3 options. It's all depend on like how you'd like to do it. One is select this and then use the run button. You see, and when the star comes in, it means it is running, and once it converted into certain number, it means it has completed, right? And what is the third way? The second way, basically, let's say if you are using MacBook, so it's a command enter, automatically it runs. Once it complete, it converts into the number, right? So if you are using, let's say, window, so it means control enter, basically. This is what the command you need to use for running any particular cell. So now let me just quickly walk you through about, let's say if you have completed this particular lab, how you're going to go to the second one. Can you see here, there's a fundamental. Within that, you can see another, lab or folder kind of, model providers. Under this, you can see, let me just open it. There is some issue with this. Let me just quickly see if it is opening. It's my system, I believe. Hold on a second. So that's what the problem with the live session, maybe. Let me do one thing. Maybe I need to open Chrome, because this is a Mozilla. I'm trying to open into some other browsers. Let me see if it works there. Sorry for this glitch. Okay, so guys, can you see now? Again, there's a problem. Come on. So give me a second. I'm just trying to open it into some other window. Okay, so here you can see, I think it's started working. Let me see again. Yes. So under fundamentals, you can see model providers, and under model providers, you can see there are 2 options again. OLAMA models. Basically, in OLAMA models, again, there would be a what you call Jupyter notebook. You need to click on this and again run step by step all the cells you need to run. So all the information related to particular lab, it's all mentioned the way it is here, right? So either you can go through if you want more information, of course you can go through information mentioned into the lab here on the main page, but I would encourage all of you to go through the Jupyter notebook, because it has all the information related to that particular lab. So what is the point that I'm trying to explain here? Under fundamental, you can see there are 8 labs that you have to go through. There are certain precautions you have to take. For example, in lab 2, especially if you go and complete OLAMA, I think again there's a presentations issue, I believe. Ashish, can you see my screen?
Yeah, no, I can't. It goes away. Your screen is shy today. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why. So can you see now?
Let me edit again. Yeah, it is there now.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So yeah, thanks Ashish once again. So basically when you run this particular lab, there is a chances that because this require like some it's a resource intensive lab, so maybe it is going to take some time when you are going to interact with your agents. So have patience. It would run, definitely it is going to run, right? So don't worry about it. So this is what actually I got the feedback from the volunteers who were conducting this lab. But rest of the lab, if I go back to fundamentals, under fundamentals you can see again the all the labs are there, like connecting with the AWS services, tools, all these labs you can go through. So what I'm going to do, once you complete the fundamental, because this particular lab is designed for making you understand what exactly the Strand agent is, what are the capability it got, like for example, making a tool call, or how you can go ahead and use like MCP server with that, and what are the advanced options are there. Of course, you can go through those again. Again, there's issue. Really sorry, guys. I don't know what is happening today. Maybe it is stopping my. Ashish, can you add me again?
Yeah, means I do not see your screen being shared. Somehow there is some security which is blocking it after some time. Maybe.
Yeah.
Is there a timeout somewhere which says that click some here, that something, some timeout is happening? I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But anyway, let me just quickly summarize, because I know this is not a very ideal, but yeah. So the point that I'm trying to speak everyone here, I mean, go through all these labs. The important point is, like, there are two points where I wanted to highlight. One was there on the lab 2, and the third one is lab 8. I mean, the second one is the lab 8, where what you'd be doing, basically you need a Langfuse, right? So basically you need an account. So you need to just go ahead and create a Langfuse account, and from there you have to create access, a public key and the secret key, because that you need into your one of the lab, especially the lab number 8. If I show you here in lab 8, you see, let me open the Jupyter notebook. And if I scroll down, you can see there'll be options where, you need your public key and your secret key. So these are the two things actually you need, right? The rest of things you'll find you'll be able to complete the lab without any problem. But let me just quickly walk you through my PPT. Ashish, can you see my screen now? Yeah. Ashish, can you see? Can you confirm?
Yeah, I see only the Jupyter notebook. I don't see the whole PPT you're sharing. Probably you have to select the screen share.
Yeah, let me stop again.
And people who are finding it difficult to understand, because if you feel there is information overload, watch the videos again. Slow it down if you need. You don't have to go through the full speed. Slow it down, pause it, rewatch it, and then go forward, right? We are trying to dissect as much as we can to make it easy for you to understand. But yes, there is too much information, so don't have to remember everything. Videos are there. Go and watch it again.
Yes, so let me see if I can share.
I can do one thing. If it is just PPT, Anil, you could send it to me and I can share. But in case you want to try one more time, let's do that, because sharing again will take little time.
Yes, so I'm just sending it to you on Slack. Maybe you can just walk through. That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Nisha. Follow the step-by-step instruction. It will help you complete the workshop. And if you feel the workshop is too lengthy this time, it is intentional. We are going to a different stage now, right? So first week and second week, we are level 200. We expect that little difficulty should be increased so that you learn more, right? But you don't get overwhelmed. Do whatever you could do. You don't have to complete all the steps. You could finish whatever you feel comfortable doing and then revisit it if required in your own account. Workshop will be provision only one time from us, but other time you can always go ahead and do things in your own account. Should not be a problem at all. Okay.
Yes, I'm sending to you, Ashish. I think that's a
Sure. Go ahead, sir. Anyways, while we are waiting, can you please confirm in the chat how many workshop you completed so from BESA? 1 or 2? put this information in the chat while we sort out this sharing issue. How many workshops you completed as part of Become a Solutions Architect program so far? Good.
You
Let
can
me
see
share
my
it. Give me a minute.
yeah, please.
I'm downloading it now, Anil, and we will share it from here.
Yeah.
Right, just one more minute. And we'll share these slides to you, so you don't have to like keep on taking screenshot. This will be available in PDF format. It may take little time for us to sort it out, the uploading and then PDF conversion, but we'll surely share all the slides with you. One more minute. I'm opening up the PowerPoint now, Anil.
Yeah, start with the slide number 5 because, or maybe you can
Slide
start
number
with
5.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, because I don't want to go with.
Let me start with slide number 5. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. And let me add my screen to the share. Yep, should be good now.
Perfect. Thanks, Ashish. So, guys, I'm just going to walk you through the lab 1 up to 10. The total number of labs. So basically, in first lab, you see that how you are going to, configure or create an agent, right? So this is the first slide that where you'd be looking at. It means you are going to install some dependency, and then you are going to create a simple agent and create your. You can pass your model as well. Can you go to the next one slide? So here you can see in the same lab number 1, you'd be building a kind of recipe bot. So where you'd be installing some, let's say, DuckDuckGo search API, basically like a package, and that would be used as a tool. And what Kavya have explained along with Ashish, you can see that how to use those tools for, as a recipe bot. So in the first lab, you are going to do, a simple agent, and then you are going to use how to, create tools that can be used for your, for the Strand agent. Can you go to the next slide, please? And the module, lab 2 is all about the model providers. So guys, if you know, like Strand Agents supports varieties of model providers, including Bedrock or OpenAI. So many other models are there. So it's all up to you, like which models you'd be using. In this particular lab, we are using, let's say, Bedrock 1. But here, model providers, you'd be using OLlama. Basically, the idea of using OLlama is to just ensure you are going to build a kind of, model which is you're going to build an agent that would be making API call for the local machine rather than making an API call outside of a local machine. That's the whole idea of using OLlama here, right? Can you go to the next slide, Ashish? And here, this is the optional lab. At the place of OLlama, you can go ahead and use, let's say, OpenAI. But for OpenAI, you need a kind of, API key. So you have to have that in advance before you go and use this. That's the reason we made this optional. So you can completely skip it. Can you go to the next one, please? So lab number 3, yes, it's very important because here you are not just trying to understand what is the Strand agent is doing. So you can see under task, there are different tools are there. So basically, you are going to build a restaurant assistant agent that would be using different tool, but that with the help of that tool, you'll be interacting with AWS service, for example, Amazon DynamoDB, where it would be saving the details of like what kind of booking has been done and if the booking need to be deleted. And you would be using, Bedrock knowledge base as well. So you can see at the bottom side of this, we are using, knowledge base for. So basically, the whole idea of lab number 3 is to introduce how you are going to use other AWS services along with the Strand agent. Can you go to the next one, please?
Yeah, so what we have here, like there are different labs and there are different scenarios you would be addressing into it.
Yes.
Saying it again in the interest of time that we don't want to go through every single lab here because we have just 1 minute left, but feel free to start from the initial one, go up to the point you feel comfortable, make yourself a little more uncomfortable, do one more lab once you feel that, hey, I'm not getting anything, still do one more lab and then revisit what you are doing. That should give you a lot of understanding. And Anil has put this slide together. We will share this slide on the regular channel, which is Tech Creator Platform, where we upload all the slides. Yes, give us some time. It is Saturday night for us. We all have family commitment and all other things, so we will upload it as soon as we get time. So we have included information about all the workshop and little bit more information like how you can get the best out of it. So that should be there on the PDF slides, right, Anil? So thanks for putting it together. And now I would add Prasad so that we could summarize, and we will provide support. I want to highlight few things so that we do not get bombarded with unnecessary question. Yes, we are happy to support you, but yes, we also need a little bit due diligence because of the volume of the people who do the lab. So Prasad, I'm sharing screen, and then we can go from there. Thank you, Anil.
Oh,
So yeah, do check the FAQs. We have sent the FAQs in the email also. And there is a video which is also live now, the solution walkthrough video, what Anil has walked through. It is fully recorded. Anil has also recorded the full walkthrough video and it is shared. So go through those, and even then, if you face any issues, feel free to ask in Discord. Thank you to all the community volunteers. They are doing
Exactly.
amazing job in actually helping everyone. So it's a really heartfelt thank you to everyone who is volunteering, both AWS and community. And you have seen the kind of support you are getting by everyone. So please be mindful of the kind of questions you are asking. If the question has been asked before, please scroll through. There is a search button in the Discord channel. If you search, you will get an answer. You don't need to ask it again. And please use the right Discord channels to ask. There is a week 3 workshop support. Please ask anything related to week 3 workshop in that. There is a knowledge check channel. Please ask anything related to tech creator quizzes in that channel. There is a technical questions channel. Anything related to technical questions outside of the workshop, feel free to ask in there. So we have created specific channels. We try and monitor as much as possible and respond as much as possible. But as you can understand, more than 1,000 people doing workshops, it's difficult for us to be on top of everything. So yeah, as Ashish mentioned, that people are joining from different time zones. So when probably you are awake, other people are not awake. So please be a bit patient in terms of getting the support. And there will be a time zone change that will be happening in US at midnight somehow at some point. Don't worry, you will be having enough time to workshop. So that's what we have done. Instead of 8 hours, we have given 10 hours of workshop time this time for slot 1, slot 2, and slot 3. So you would be having ample time to do the workshops. Do not worry on that.
Yeah, there is a cost associated on these workshops, and we would be happy to share what cost we incurred, and it's in thousands of dollars, right? So we do due diligence. We cannot keep it running for 24 hours, 72 hours. It is all being given to us free from AWS leadership. So let's utilize it best. 10 hours is more than sufficient. We increased 2 hours this time due to complexity of it. So dedicate time. Do it like you are doing an interview. Go through all this, prepare yourself, and then get the best out of it. Now, question was there: is it part of WizLab? No, these are separate. WizLab is separate. So, Prasad, I'll bring to the next slide in case you want to talk about WizLabs.
Yes, why not? So WizLabs, they are providing. So they are a education company for clouds, right? And they're one of I used WizLabs when I was doing my AWS certification long back, around 5-6 years back. And they have amazing. Even now, they keep their courses up to date, so they are pretty good in that sense. So they are providing a couple of things for free for all the PESA participants. First is access to their generative AI video course, and labs, couple of labs. It's not a full-fledged the way we are doing the workshops using AWS Workshop Studio. It's not that comprehensive, but anyone who is starting new, it will be pretty amazing to go through those also. It will be helpful for you to get ramped up on a little bit of Bedrock at the labs that they're doing. I think they're giving a Bedrock's Playground lab. So go through it. And Ashish, do we have slides for the starter kit also?
Yeah, means I wanted to also address one more thing, like how much would be cost if you do it in your own account. So it depends. So it should be few dollars, but again, if you are not mindful and if you keep it running, the cost could be higher. So most of the workshop are there within $10 range, $15 range, $20 range. But again, it depends on what components you deploy, what sizing you use, and how long you run it, and even in which region you run it. So we cannot give you an exact pricing for these. These are dynamic pricing. These are not static pricing for it, right? And yes, I wanted to talk about cloud career journey also. Some of you may feel that, hey, this is not sufficient and I need to go further deep. So we have something called Cloud Career Journey Kit. This is based on the book Prasad and I have written. Along with the book, you also get access to 6 months of WizLab Premium Plus access, and 6 months of Pluralsight Premium access worth $200. So in case you are looking to get more deeper, you can say, okay, I'm doing this workshop. I also want to do WizLab for 6 months. So buy this kit. You will get WizLab, and then you can use next 6 months for Pluralsight, or you can do vice versa change. You don't have to consume both these accesses in one go. You could schedule it one after the other. So you would have at least a 1 year worth of resources to learn from, apart from become a solutions architect. This is a paid product, but we are giving a higher discount on these. But this can be extending your journey if you need to go beyond what we are talking here. Prasad, you want to add something?
We'll send the details over the email also, so feel free to have a look at the website.
Yep. Thank you. So all the best, everyone. We know we are 5 minutes over, but we wanted to relay as much information as we could. So all the best with workshop. Saying it again, slot 1 email has been rolled out. A lot of you have confirmed it, so complete this. Slot 2 and slot 3 email will hit your account when the time comes. And please use Discord channel diligently. Do not post repeated question. Respect time of others while they are doing it on supporting you on the weekend. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you. If you have any feedback, send email to support@besaprogram.com, and we'll look into all the feedback you provide. And I want to also thank everyone who is on stage here. So Nisha has been answering a lot of questions. Thank you, Nisha, for that. Then we have Anil here. Then people dropped off. That is, then we have Laura here, and we also have Achal. So we all been answering questions. Some of you may have not received answer for some question. That doesn't mean we don't want to answer. Only the time limitation. So put it into the Discord or use chatbot, and you should be able to get a lot of answers from that. Right?
Yes.
Good. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you all.